Tonight on GamePoints 369, we have job cuts at Naughty Dog, Jim Ryan is retiring, and Knights of the Old Republic's remake may or may not be cancelled. Who the hell knows? All that and more in just a moment. But first, I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching us live here at Twitch TV/GamePoints, or later at any myriad of video hosting platforms, be they Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, etc., I want to know what you guys think, so feel free to join the conversation with any questions, comments, concerns. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. First story of the day from Kotaku. Yes, I know, Kotaku, but hey, they're the ones that reported it first, and I do try to get primary sources, at the very least. Last of Us Studio, Naughty Dog, is cutting developers. Now, the link to this story and all the ones we'll be talking about are provided down below over on our Discord server, so go join and take a look at them if you want to read them in their entirety. I recommend you do so. Back to the article now. The video game industry is currently facing a big wave of layoffs, and even contract developers at PlayStation first-party studio Naughty Dog aren't immune. Kotaku had learned that the makers of hits like Uncharted 4, Thief's End, and The Last of Us Part 2 have been cutting contracts short for dozens of workers. Layoffs were communicated internally at Santa Monica, California-based studio last week, according to two sources familiar with the situation. Departments ranging from art to production were impacted, but the majority of those laid off worked in quality assurance testing. Sources said at least 25 developers are part of downsizing. Full-time staff do not appear to have been part of the cuts. Interesting that all these layoffs that are happening, not just here, in which case it's hard to say they're layoffs or just contracts not getting continued. It sounds like it's mainly contract work. But they all seem to be coming from quality assurance. And it shows you how much these developers tend to value QA. So something to be concerned about if you're, working QA somewhere. Maybe start building your skill set to get out of QA as fast as you can. Back to the article here. Sources tell Kotaku that no severance is being offered for those currently laid off, and that the impacted developers as well as remaining employees are being pressured to keep the news quiet. Their contracts won't officially be terminated until the end of October, and they're expected to work through the rest of the month. That makes sense. By the way, if you're a contract worker, you wouldn't get severance. That is standard. Now, you can say that's not right, but that is how it typically is, that no severance would be expected for contract work, as well as typically no health insurance, etc. That usually comes out of pocket of the freelancers themselves. Now, as far as being told, please keep quiet if you're an impacted developer, fuck that. If I'm being laid off, if my contract's coming to an end early, why do I owe you a goddamn thing? I'm not on your payroll anymore. Or at the very least, I won't be until the end of October, but if I know that my contract's up in 3 weeks, fuck it. I'm telling everyone what's going on. I get that might impact future work, but honestly, with the way things are going on right now, these people probably aren't going to find another job at least anywhere big, because everyone is cutting at the moment. Because the economy is spiraling down the tubes. I've been mentioning this for what seems like a year now, but please, for the love of God, make sure your resumes are updated. It is still going to get worse before it gets better. Not to sound like a broken record, because there's not a week that goes by that I don't mention job cuts, but fuck, it is coming, and it is going to be coming for you, regardless of what sector is in there. Be prepared. Additionally, while we're on this topic right here, we have a little bit of news of what might possibly be the woes going on with the development of Last of Us Factions or the Last of Us multiplayer spin-off or any of these other titles that have been floating around, whatever the hell Naughty Dog is currently working on. Despite the hit ratings for the HBO adaptation of The Last of Us, a multiplayer spin-off for the zombie shooter based in the first game's faction mode has struggled in development. One source now tells Kotaku that the multiplayer game, while not completely canceled, is basically on ice at this point. Makes sense since they had Bungie, which, by the way, is owned by Sony. And yes, I know they're in the news today, but I really don't need to get into their weird messaging for Hispanic heritage. There are many other drama YouTube channels you can go for that. I try not to weigh too hard on the culture war topics, but I almost did for that one because it's so stupid. Moving on, let's putting that aside, maybe for conversation later. Bungie did take a look at what Naughty Dog was working on with, let's just call it Last of Us Factions, for lack of a better term, and they said this ain't good. And that's a bit of a problem considering how much money, time, and resources that they have sunk into that thing already. And having that just put on ice, well, that could be why you're having contractors have their contracts ending early. This seems to be a little bit more than just simple belt tightening around Naughty Dog. I wouldn't be surprised if we start having layoffs even at a big studio, a successful studio like this in the future. Last of Us Factions, of course, being one of many live service games that CEO Jim Ryan has said are coming. I want to say he has a handful of them coming up throughout the years, but Jim Ryan himself will not be around to see them as he announced his retirement here in an article from The Verge, which is a little bit sad because I think we're going to enter this period where we finally see what Jim Ryan's influence on Sony is, and I don't think it's going to be good for the company, but he will be long gone and dodging most of the blame. But hey, this is my prediction talking. All these games could be amazing when they come out for all we know. But I think we can see the writing on the wall, and especially when you hear terms like live service, which is kind of a toxic name in the gaming sphere amongst gamers these days. I don't think the future's looking bright for PlayStation, in my opinion. And Jim Ryan, the man who instituted all these changes, these multiple live service games as a service, multiplayer components, trying to cash in on the Fortniteization of the industry, well, he won't be around to reap the whirlwind with the seeds he has sown. He's going to be moving on to who knows what. This says retiring, but we all know these CEOs tend not to be retired and tend to start finding somewhere else to work at, be it following that Tencent or Saudi Arabian money or even starting their own company. We'll see what happens with Ryan, but let's go ahead and go to the article itself so we can get the details. Once again, from The Verge. Jim Ryan, the head of PlayStation CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, is stepping down. Important to note, he is not the CEO of Sony, just of Sony Interactive Entertainment, the PlayStation side of things. In a press release on Wednesday, Sony announced that Ryan will retire in March 2024, while Sony Group Corporation President and Chief Operating Officer Hiroki Totoki will take on the interim CEO role starting April 1st, 2024. If you ask me, I think this is one of those things where Ryan sees the writing on the wall, is trying to get out while the getting's good. It is going to be a shitstorm starting next quarter, leading into next year with the economic thing. All kinds of things are going to start blowing up, so I wouldn't stick around for that. Go out, retire, have a few years, kick back on a beach somewhere, and then come back. That's what I would do, and that seems to be the plan he's doing. Jim Ryan said the following in a statement. After 30 years, I made the decision to retire from SIE in March 2024. I've relished the opportunity to have a job I love in a very special company, working with great people and incredible partners. But I found it increasingly difficult to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America. I will leave, having been privileged to work on products that have touched millions of lives across the world. PlayStation will always be a part of my life, and I feel more optimistic than ever about the future of SIE. Now, that actually could be the reason why he's leaving. He could be like, hey, I'm old. I'm old now. I don't need to be traveling back and forth between Europe and North America and Japan. From what I understand, he was having to go between those three areas multiple times a month. That does put a drain on even the healthiest of us all, and he is starting to get up there in the years. I just find the timing to be highly suspect, and honestly, it could have been a combination of it all. It could have been him seeing what the future holds. It could have been a general lack of disinterest in being away from your family and having to travel across the world, and it could just be him slowing down in his old age. All three of these could be valid reasons, but I do think that it would be folly to assume that he's not leaving because he doesn't see trouble on the horizon. Once again, that is speculation. It's not like I have any kind of insider information on it, and I'm not trying to be a Sony hater here. I'm just looking at the industry as a whole, hell, the entire economy as a whole. You're going to be seeing a lot of CEOs fucking off over the next couple months, I think. And it's not because they're retiring because it's the right time. They're retiring because they're trying to dodge a bullet, in my opinion. Just keep an eye out for it. While on the topic of Sony, let's go ahead and go to Video Game Chronicle for this next topic here. Sony hides trailers for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake and deletes announcement tweet. Yeah, it's not looking too good for that, which makes sense considering that Aspyr was working on it, then maybe Saber was working on it, and both of those are part of Embracer, which, for those of people who have been watching the show for a while, know has been having a whole host of problems over the past few months, ever since that Saudi Arabian deal fell through. including shuttering of studios like Volition, who has been around for a dog's age, layoffs across the board, rumors of divestment of properties. So I wouldn't be surprised if Knights of the Republic remake was canceled. Or, and we'll get to that or in a bit. But let's go ahead and go to the article itself first. References to Star Wars Knights of the Republic remake has been taken offline by some PlayStation primary social media accounts amid a report of troubled development. Billed as a collaboration between developer Aspyr Media and production partners Lucasfilm Games and Sony Interactive Entertainment, the game was announced as a timed PS5 console exclusive during a PlayStation Showcase event in 2021. However, it was recently noticed that the tweet from the main PlayStation Twitter account has been announcing the game has been deleted, while the title's reveal trailer has been made private. This has caused speculation that the game, which was also announced for PC and expected to release on Xbox Series S and X at some point, could be the latest casualty of restructuring efforts by Aspyr's parent company, Embracer Group. You can see a bunch of tweets of the people who did the actual work to track down what's going on. Where was I? Star Wars Knights of the Republic remake has been reportedly beset by problems over the last couple years. Bloomberg claimed last summer that Aspyr has stopped working on the game and that the future of the title was up in the air. Furthermore, Embracer had confirmed that Saber Interactive was also working on the game, and some of Bloomberg sources said they believed it was possible Sega had taken over development for the game entirely. Yeah, Knights of the Republic remake is fucked. They don't want to come out and say it's canceled because I actually don't think it's canceled. What I think happened, and once again, just pure speculation here, Embracer is hemorrhaging money. Embracer is looking to sell off some of its IPs. It desperately needs cash infusion. I think that they might have given up the Star Wars Knights of the Republic remake to Sony. Now, that would make sense, or at least someone. Maybe not necessarily Sony, but someone. It would make sense if it was to Sony and why they would actually take that stuff down so they could relaunch it under their new developer or whoever's going to be developing internally there. Or it could have been handed off to Microsoft, which would make sense why Sony would also want to then remove all references to that game. Either way, no matter how you slice it, what the future holds for Knights of the Old Republic remake is its current present is doomed. Aspyr's probably off of it. Saber's probably off of it. I have no doubt that someone somewhere is working to get this project off the ground again, considering how beloved it is. It feels like it's easy money, and honestly, the Aspyr working on it always felt weird to me that such a revered game would be handed to, no offense to Aspyr and Saber, junior developers. This is a game that a major developer would be working on, you would assume. But here we are. That's why I don't think the plans for this game are actually dead. I think they're just under massive renegotiation, and I think you'll probably see a re-reveal of this within the next year or so. Hopefully. It could also just get shelved for who knows how long. However, we are moving into a period of uncertainty, meaning that more and more developers and publishers are going to be turning to well-known properties. Expect a lot of remakes, expect a lot of sequels, expect a lot of quickly tranked out sequels as well to try to keep the coffers flowing. If you're a fan of original IP, turn to your indies, especially after EA tried to make a new IP of Immortals of Avium and that, well, horrendously flopped. And that would have sent shockwaves throughout the industry of other people who might have been starting up something new, like say at Capcom or Ubisoft or Take-Two, and they see EA, who, love or hate EA, they're still a massive player in the industry. They still do some of the biggest games of the year, and to see them release something and have so thoroughly fall on its face, that's got to send a chill to anyone wanting to try something new, for damn sure, especially on the precipice of a very uncertain economic future. So yes, I do think Knights of the Republic remake will eventually re-show its head within the next year or so. But Aspyr, Saber, and anyone associated with Embracer will not have nothing to do with it. My gut says Sony bought it, but honestly, it could go to anyone at this point. Expect this project not to be dead, but to radically change soon. Moving on, because, well, just nothing but layoffs it seems this week, we go to Variety for this one. Fortnite developer Epic Games is axing 16% of its staff, laying off 800 employees and sells Bandcamp. I had no idea that Epic Games was so massive that 830 employees represents only 16% of its workforce. That means they employ, what, about 8,000 people total, maybe 7? Way bigger than I thought they did. To the article itself. Epic Games is slashing its workforce by 16%, laying off about 830 employees as it looks to cut costs and put Fortnite maker on viable financial footing. The cutbacks were announced in an internal memo from Epic CEO Tim Sweeney. In addition to the announced layoffs, the company is selling Bandcamp, the music store and community platform it acquired in 2022. I don't remember them buying Bandcamp, by the way. I totally missed that news. And will spin off most of the Super Awesome, the kids' digital marketing company Epic bought in 2020. For a while now, we've been spending way more money than we earn investing in the next evolution of Epic and growing Fortnite as the metaverse-inspired ecosystem for creators, Sweeney wrote. I have long been optimistic that we could power through this transition without layoffs, but in retrospect, I see that this was unrealistic. Sorry about that. When the developer of the world's biggest game says, we aren't making money, that is a problem. This should be a clarion call to the entire industry that something fucked up is happening. Of course, all the best to everyone who was laid off by this, because goddamn. But man, it is. What else can I say beyond what I have been for the past multiple months? It is not. I can't really say anything more other than what I have been saying. It is going to get very scary out there. These layoffs are still going to be coming. I expect even more at Epic if they're in such dire financial straits that they're looking to sell Bandcamp and Super Awesome. It's going to be bad. And I wish to God I had better news for you, but it's going to continue getting worse as we go to our next story here from Eurogamer. Significant job losses likely at Worms publisher Team 17. Worms publisher Team 17 has announced a company restructure likely to result in significant job losses. Eurogamer understands, with the majority of the developer's internal QA, once again quality assurance team, affected. The company's CEO, Michael Pattison, is also expected to leave, sources close to the company say. Rare to see the CEO get the axe. Interesting on this one. Around 50 roles, the vast majority of the QA department, are at risk as part of a major restructuring process, and the company opts to outsource its QA work instead. So good news for those contractors that are getting laid off from Naughty Dog. Maybe Team 17 has some work for you. This is going to be the story that I'm talking about over and over and over again for the next 4 months. And once again, I can add nothing else to this beyond my heartfelt sympathies to those affected by the layoffs, but please, for the love of God, I am warning you again, get your resumes in order. Set some money aside. Be prepared for just a sudden pink slip. Regardless of what industry you're in, it is going to get bad. And of course, when things get bad, they start ramping up all across the thing. You have some people who are unionized threatening strikes. We just got out of the writer strike. Maybe seems like a deal has been struck but not officially signed, just in time for the Voice Actors Guild Association of SAG-AFTRA to start sable rattling about going on strike themselves. Right here we have this article from Deadline. SAG-AFTRA talks with video game industry end with no deal. Now, if you remember last week, or maybe even the week before, we were talking about how SAG-AFTRA, the voice actors part of SAG-AFTRA, authorized a strike. Well, it seems like no deal's come and gone, so we might see yet another SAG-AFTRA strike, fresh on the heels of the seemingly resolved writers and actors strike in the Hollywood side of things. SAG-AFTRA's scheduled talks with the video game industry, which began Tuesday, have ended with no agreement. In a terse joint statement tonight, the union and video game producers said the following. SAG-AFTRA and the video game employers concluded scheduled negotiations for interactive media agreement. No deal was reached, and the current agreement will remain in effect while the parties make final efforts to reach the deal. The news comes days after SAG-AFTRA's 160,000 strong membership voted to overwhelmingly allow a strike against 10 major video game companies. The vote was 98.32% in favor of. Many of the issues involved in the union's 11-week film and TV strike are common to those in the video game contract, including wages and artificial intelligence. The 10 companies facing a possible strike are as following: Activision Productions, Blindsight, Disney Character Voices, EA, Epic Games, Formosa Interactive, Insomniac Games, and Take-Two Productions, as well as VoiceWorks Productions and WB Games. It's been nearly a year since the Guild's video game contract, known as the Interactive Media Agreement, was extended beyond its original expiration date. SAG-AFTRA's last strike against gaming companies in 2016 and 17 lasted 183 days. The Guild, meanwhile, has been on strike against the film and TV industry since July 14th. Still actively on strike, I believe, with a tentative agreement to be signed, but it has not been officially finalized yet. But that seems like it's going to go through. It'll be interesting to see if they can't leverage some of that power into helping out the voice actors in this case. I think they're going to go on strike. I 100% think they will. Everyone seems to be striking at the moment. You have like the United Auto Workers doing the same. You have multiple areas unionizing. There is definitely this resurgence of union power that is happening across the country, here in America at least, for good and bad. It brings both positives and negatives toward that, which is, in my opinion, going to hasten some economic issues. And that's why this is happening, by the way. I think that these higher-ups also, the higher-ups in SAG-AFTRA can see the storm coming, and they're trying to get what they can for them and theirs. More power to them, I guess. But if everything was hunky-dory, you wouldn't be seeing such pressure to unionize, as it were. We'll see how this story unfolds. I wouldn't be surprised if they go on strike again. And the timing of such, since these agreements are written in 3-year increments typically, would mean that if the voice actors go on strike or resolve this or go on strike and get it resolved within, like, say, a month or so, it means the voice actor section would be coinciding with the Hollywood writers and actors as well when their contract expires again in 3 years. Meaning that they could all potentially go on strike 3 years hence. The timing of that is deliberate, by the way. They're big on doing it all simultaneously because there is power in solidarity. And as much as I hate that term, it does happen. When you have enough people at the same time going, no, well, shit tends to move. One final story before we wrap things up tonight here, going back to Epic Games for a little bit. This article from GameIndustry.biz. Hatoful Boyfriend dev accuses Epic of unpaid royalties. The original developer of Hatoful Boyfriend has accused Epic Games of not paying royalties on the game for the past 2 years. In the wake of layoffs at Epic that impacted the studio behind Hatoful Boyfriend HD Remake Mediatonic, developer Hatomoa posted condolences on social media for the lovely and talented people from the studio, adding Epic has not paid royalties to the game since it acquired Mediatonic in 2021. The day after Moa went public, Epic Games Publishing responded to say the following: "We are looking into this and the team will be reaching out to you directly." End quote. Hatoful Boyfriend originally released in Japan in 2011, but Mediatonic and Devolver Digital remade it into an international audience for 2024 and brought it to mobile and PlayStation platforms as well. Moa said those versions of the games had to be pulled from the storefronts after Epic acquired Mediatonic in 2021, and though it remains available on Steam where it was published by Epic Games. Moa went on to say it wouldn't be worth filing suit over the missing royalties as the money in question wouldn't justify the cost of legal action. "Don't worry, I'm totally fine," Moa added. "I just wish I'd been strong and influential enough to support all the nice people from Mediatonic. They've been always nice to me and Hatoful." This sounds like one of those cases of something getting lost in the shuffle when Epic bought Mediatonic. If the royalties weren't necessarily big enough to go over a lawsuit for, they had to be a small number. You would assume. And honestly, Epic straight up probably just overlooked it. I'm not saying there was anything malicious behind it. I'm saying I don't know, but if I had to venture a guess, it just feels like an oversight. Yes, they should fix it. Yes, there should be some compensation for that as well. Do I think there was malicious intent here? No, but it is a problem. I hope it gets resolved soon. And with that is the last story I have for you today, which means that's the end of the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 369, and thank you all for showing up. I do stream this live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. So come on by and join the conversation. If you can't join us live, however, I understand. We put up copies of this show up on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and you can come by and take a look there as well. You can follow me on X at CapitalistBig21 if you want to take a look at my random musings throughout the day. And I do stream here as well at Twitch TV/GamePoints, random video games. Going through Alan Wake right now, losing my voice. And I couldn't tell you why. If you want to support the stream, you know what to do. Like, bits, follow, subs, all that good stuff. And there's a Discord server we can join. Link posted down there if you want to be part of the greater GamePoints community. Once again, thank you all for showing up. Until next week, I'm out of here.